Mastering Python part 2. In the part 1 we have discussed the basic programs. Here in the part 2 we will deal with the programs related to conditional programs. Conditional equations means if one condition is clear, like if number 1 is greater than number 2, to print this, else if print this. So here we will start with this program, so which says that read two numbers and tell which one is greater. So here we will prompt the user to enter the first number. Float is used to convert them into decimal points, right? We will prompt the user to enter second number and then compare the numbers. So if the number 1 is greater than number 2, print the first number is bigger, else print the second number is bigger, else both numbers are equal. So next program is to ask the user for three numbers and display the largest one. So here we will prompt the user to enter all the three numbers. So after obtaining both numbers, we use if else statement to compare the numbers and determine which one is bigger. So in the first if condition, we check if the number 1 is greater than number 2. If true, we print the message first number is bigger. And here we are taking it like this: if number 1 is greater than number 2 and number 1 is also greater than number 3, so the largest number is number 1. And if number 2 is greater than number 1 and number 2 is greater than number 3, so the largest number is number 2, else if the largest number is number 3. And finally we display the largest number to the user. The next program is to read the number and report whether it's an odd number or even number. So here prompt the user to enter the number, check if it is divisible by 2. Entirely divisible, the number is even, else the number is odd. The next program is to read a number and report whether it's positive, negative or 0. So first enter the number and then check if it is greater than 0. So it's positive, less than 0, so negative, else the number is 0. The next program is to read the scores of two tests and report whether the student passed or failed. So here prompt the user to enter the score of the first test and second test and check if score 1 is greater than equals to 6. So print the student passed the first test, else didn't, or else we say it failed the first test. So check the score of second test. If the score 2 is greater than equals to 6, print the student passed the second test, else the student failed the second test. The next program is to read the grades of two tests, calculate the simple arithmetic mean. So first prompt the user to enter the grade of first test and second test, calculate the average of the grades. If the average is greater than 6, so print the student passed with an average of the result whatever shall come, as we are storing the result in this variable called average. Else we'll say the student failed with an average of that, say 4 or 5. Next the program that reads three numbers and inform if their sum is divisible by 5 or not. So here first enter three numbers, take their sums using this formula and then check if the sum of numbers is divisible by 5. So say the sum is divisible by 5, I'll say the sum is not divisible by 5. Next program is to read the three numbers and check if their sum is positive, negative or equals to 0. So prompt the user to enter three numbers, calculate the sum of three numbers, check if the sum of numbers is greater than 0. So print sum is positive, if sum is negative, else the sum is 0. The next program is to read three numbers, display them in ascending order. So here we will use two approaches. The first approach is to prompt the user to enter three numbers and then checking the things. First checking if the number 1 is less than number 2 and number 1 is also less than 3. The smallest number is number 1, and then we are checking 2 and 3 only. So if in this we are taking another loop, that is if number 2 is less than number 3, so the order should be number 1, number 2, number 3. Else the order should be number 1, number 3, number 2. Then we'll start with the number 2 here. So we'll compare the number 2 with both number 1 and number 3. So if number 2 is the lowest one, we'll write it here and then we'll check which is smallest, number 1 or number 3. So here we'll write it accordingly. So if in case the number 1 is smaller than number 3, so the order should be number 2, number 1, number 3, else it should be like this. Similarly we'll check it for another number 1 and we'll write the results. And the second approach can be simply prompt the user to enter three numbers, create a list to store the numbers, and sort the list in ascending order using this numbers.sort, and finally display the results in ascending order. The next program is to read the age of 3 people and display how many of them are of legal age. So prompt the user to enter the age of 3 numbers. Here int function is used to convert the numbers into integer values, and then initialize a variable to keep track of the count of legal age individuals. So check if age 1 is greater than 18, so the count will increase. If age 2 is greater than 18, so the counter will keep on increasing. And finally display out of 3 people the legal age count. Say 2 persons are of legal age, or 1 person is of legal age, depending on the count function. The next program is to read 3 numbers and tell if they can be of the sides of a triangle. So here prompt the users to enter 3 numbers and check if they can make a triangle. So if side 1 plus side 2 is greater than side 3, or n, side 1 plus side 3 is greater than side 2, and side 2 plus side 3 is greater than side 1. So say the 3 sides can form a triangle, else they can't form a triangle. The next is to write a program that reads the year of birth and informs if it is able to vote. So here first prompt the user to enter the year of birth, calculate the current year. For this we will use this date time. So we'll have to first import date time, and then we will apply this date time dot date time dot now in order to calculate the current year accurately, and then we will calculate the age of this person by subtracting the year of birth from the current year. So if this difference or the age is greater than equals to 16, so print you are eligible to vote, else you are not eligible to vote yet. The next program is to read the person's age and inform if he is not able to vote, that is less than 16 years old, or if he is able to vote but it is not obligatory, and the third or if he is obligatory to vote. So here we will first prompt the user to enter the age, check if it is less than 16, we will print you are not able to vote. If it lies between 18 to 69, voting is obligatory, else voting is not obligatory. And this age criteria is in accordance with the Brazilian legislation. The next is to write a program that reads 3 grades from a student and reports whether he passed or not. So here first prompt the user to enter 3 grades. Float is to convert them into the digital or the decimal numbers. Calculate the average grade. So if this average grade is greater than 7, result is passed. If it is less than 4, result is fail, else the result is recovery, and finally we will display the final result. The next program is to ask for the name of a day of a weekday and display whether it's a weekday or weekend. So first prompt the user to enter the name. Here we will convert the input to the lower case, and then we will check if the day is equals to Saturday or Sunday, then it's a weekend, else it's a weekday, and finally we will display the results here. And finally the next program is to write a program that asks for the person's height and weight and calculate their BMI, display their results as underweight, normal, obese, severely obese. So first prompt the user to enter the weight and height, calculate the BMI using this formula, weight by height square, and if this BMI is less than 18.5, category is underweight. If it is less than 25, normal, less than 30, overweight, less than 35, obese, else it is severely obese. And finally we will display the BMI in the category BMI, and the category variable is stored in a category variable, and will show the category, say obese or severely obese or overweight, depending on the results that we will get. The next is to write a program that asks for integer and check if it is divisible by 3 and 5 at the same time. So for this first prompt the user to enter an integer and then check if the number is divisible by 3 and divisible by 5. If both conditions satisfied, then say the result divisible by both, else not divisible by 3 and 5. And finally we will display the results. The next is to write a program that asks for person's age and display whether it's a child, teenager, adult or elderly. So in this first prompt the user to enter their age, check if it is less than 12, so say child. If age is less than equals to 17, so category is teenager. If it is less than 59, category is adult, else the category is elderly, and finally we'll display the result. Next is to write a program that asks for two numbers and display if the first is divisible by 2. So we'll have to prompt the user to enter two numbers, check if the number 1 is divisible by 2, result is divisible, else the result is not divisible. And finally display the result that the first number is say divisible or not divisible, the whatever results will get by the second number. That's all for today. Thank you.